He helped people understand themselves until he decided to control them. Dr. Adrian Wolfe, age 43, was one of Chicago's most respected clinical psychologists. Charismatic, eloquent, a published author on behavioral manipulation and empathy disorders. To the outside world, he was the man you call when minds broke. To those who sat across from him, he was comfort wrapped in intellect, a man who could read silence like confession. But somewhere between therapy and control, Adrian stopped healing and started playing God. He built his reputation inside Riverside Institute, a private mental health center that treated high-profile clients quietly. Politicians, CEOs, victims of abuse. He called his method reflective conditioning. He told the press it helped people rebuild self-esteem. What he didn't tell them was how it blurred the line between trust and dependency. Interview clip, former patient, voice disguised. He'd say things like, "Let me carry your pain for a while." At first, it felt safe. Then it felt like I couldn't breathe without him. For 2 years, no one questioned him. His results were extraordinary. Patients left the clinic singing his praises, until one didn't. Her name was Clara Jensen, 28, graphic designer, survivor of emotional abuse. She came to Adrian seeking help to rebuild her life. Instead, she became part of his experiment in control. Recordings later recovered from the Institute's archive reveal how he began. Audio, Session 1. Adrian, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Clara, someone broken. Adrian, no, someone waiting to be rewritten. In those words lay the seed of everything that followed. Over the next 6 months, Adrian guided Clara through a therapy regimen that mixed mindfulness with hypnosis. She trusted him completely. He used that trust to erase boundaries. Private dinners to monitor progress. Late-night calls to calm anxiety. Gifts to build positive association. Each act designed not to heal, but to bind. By the time Clara realized she was being isolated from friends, it was too late. Adrian wasn't curing dependency. He was creating it. In his notes, later seized by police, he wrote, "The moment a patient's recovery depends on my approval, therapy becomes truth." He began introducing tests, moral puzzles, guilt triggers, control panic. When Clara failed, he withdrew affection. When she obeyed, he rewarded her with praise. Classic conditioning, but with a human heart as the experiment. By late 2018, Clara's co-workers noticed bruises, not from violence, but from anxiety spasms she couldn't explain. Her mother described her voice on the phone as flat, rehearsed. Behind the clinic's tinted windows, Adrian's empire of trust was expanding, and Clara wasn't his only subject. Police later identified 3 other women with near-identical experiences. Each began as a patient. Each ended as what Adrian privately called his mirror subjects. He had them record video diaries, describing their fears and memories, then spliced and rearranged their words into scripts. He'd make them read their own edited confessions back in session, convincing them those thoughts were real. Within months, their identities blurred into whatever Adrian wanted them to be. One tried to report him to the Institute board. She disappeared from patient logs the next day. The director claimed she transferred care. In truth, Adrian had erased her records. But power feeds on attention, and Adrian wanted an audience. He began sharing excerpts of his case studies at closed-door conferences, anonymized but detailed enough to shock. He was no longer hiding. He was performing, and the audience applauded, until the tapes surfaced. In February 2019, a 6-minute audio file appeared on an anonymous psychology forum. The voice was unmistakable, Dr. Adrian Wolfe. The second voice, Clara Jensen. What began as a confidential session between therapist and patient would soon expose one of the most disturbing cases of professional manipulation in American mental health history. Audio snippet distorted Adrian. "When you're afraid, you come back to my voice. No one else understands you like I do. Clara, you said it's treatment. Adrian, it is, but treatment requires surrender." Within hours, the clip went viral among psychology circles. Some called it unethical. Others said it was fake. But one former patient recognized the voice. And the words, interview, patient 11, voice disguised. He used that phrase on me too. Treatment requires surrender. It's not therapy, it's ownership. The leak triggered an internal investigation at the Riverside Institute, but the board found nothing. No physical evidence, no official complaints. Adrian denied everything, saying the recording was deep fake for revenge. And the public believed him, until Clara vanished. Local artist and mental health advocate Clara Jensen has been missing for 3 days. Police are urging anyone with information to come forward. Her car was found outside her apartment. Inside the trunk, a single cassette tape labeled Session 47. Investigators expected notes. What they heard was a confession. Audio, Session 47, partial Clara. You said you could fix me. Adrian, I did. Clara, then why do I feel like I'm dying? Adrian, because that's what rebirth feels like. Detective Erica Vaughn, Chicago PD, took over the case. Her first discovery, Clara's therapy schedule didn't match clinic records. Some sessions were marked at 2 p.m. Her phone GPS placed her at Adrian's private residence. And the deeper Vaughn dug, the more ghosts appeared. Deleted patient files. Bank transfers labeled consultation bonuses. A private folder on Adrian's cloud drive named The Mirrors. Inside that folder were 37 video clips. Each showed women sitting in therapy rooms, eyes glazed, repeating phrases Adrian fed them off camera. Some laughed. Some cried. One whispered. He said, "I'm only real when he looks at me." When news broke, the Chicago Herald ran the headline, "Doctor of Minds or Master Control?" TV networks debated it. Experts call it the most sophisticated case of psychological exploitation in decades. Meanwhile, Adrian went on talk shows. Calm, articulate, charming. Interview clip, April 2019 reporter. "Are you saying every one of these women lied?" Adrian, "I'm saying people in pain often rewrite memories to survive. I help them. That's my only crime." Public opinion split down the middle. Half saw a healer under attack. Half saw a predator hiding behind credentials. But Detective Vaughn wasn't watching the interviews. She was reading emails. Buried in Adrian's digital archives was a chain titled Reflective Progress Reports. Each email detailed a patient's progress and subtle psychological triggers to use next session. The language was clinical, detached, until Vaughn reached the last line of one report. If she resists again, apply stimulus pattern 3. If she cries, end session with physical touch, hand on shoulder or lower back. Always reinforce dependence. It was signed AW, but one email included a CC to Dr. Lenora Price, Adrian's mentor at Riverside. She'd been covering for him for years. The truth was finally surfacing. What began as therapy had become a laboratory, and Clara Jensen was its final subject. But Vaughn still had no body, no proof of death, and no way to link the recordings directly to harm, until the handwriting appeared. 2 months after Clara's disappearance, her mother turned over a journal, discovered behind a painting in Clara's studio. The entries were disturbing. He says, "I need to unlearn myself." He watches me sleep during hypnosis. He calls it research. I call it surrender. The final page was ripped out. Only a faint impression remained, the word basement. On June 12, 2019, detectives executed a search warrant at Dr. Adrian Wolfe's residence in Lincoln Park. The house was immaculate. Minimalist decor, framed degrees, floor-to-ceiling windows. No sign of struggle. No sign of Clara. Until they reached the basement. Behind a false wall, hidden by acoustic paneling, they found a soundproof room. No windows. No clock. Just a single reclining chair, a camera tripod, and a large mirror fixed to the wall. The mirror wasn't glass. It was one-way observation. On the other side, a small office with recording equipment, labeled tapes, and detailed logs. Detective Vaughn, body cam audio. Jesus Christ, this isn't therapy. It's a lab. Forensic analysts recovered 72 hours of recordings from that room, each labeled with patient initials, dates, and cryptic notes like Stage 3 compliance, resistance relapse, Identity reconstruction. Most clips showed hypnosis sessions, patients describing traumatic memories while Adrian whispered cues. But a few were different. Visual, VHS static. A woman sits slumped in a chair, murmuring incoherently. On-screen date, November 22nd, 2018. Adrian, off camera. Do you love me, Clara? Clara, I trust you. Adrian, that's not what I asked. Clara, yes. Then silence. He turns the camera off. Among the equipment was a black notebook marked Mirror Hypothesis. Inside, Adrian wrote in tidy handwriting, "People don't need to be forced. They need to believe obedience is healing." And beneath it, if they surrender willingly, it's not manipulation, it's evolution. He wasn't treating mental illness. He was engineering submission. Digital forensics revealed a folder on Adrian's encrypted drive titled Triggers. Each file corresponded to a patient. Inside, a collection of sounds, colors, and phrases used during sessions to elicit specific emotional reactions. For Clara, it was the sound of rain and the phrase, "Look at me." He conditioned her to respond to it like a command. Investigators tested one of the files during interrogation playback. The result was horrifying. Every patient interviewed described feeling panic when they heard the recording. Even months later, his influence didn't end when the sessions did. Emails led Detective Vaughn to Dr. Lenora Price, Adrian's former mentor and senior director at Riverside Institute. When confronted, she claimed ignorance, but her bank records told another story. Monthly deposits labeled research consulting. In a recorded interview, Vaughn asked her directly, "Vaughn, you knew what he was doing, didn't you?" Price, he said it was behavioral testing, that no one was harmed. Vaughn, "You saw the tapes." Price, "Yes." Vaughn, "And you did nothing?" Price, "You don't stop a genius. You learn from him." That quote made national headlines. 2 days later, construction workers at an abandoned industrial site reported a foul odor coming from a drainage tunnel. Inside, police found a decomposed body wrapped in white cloth, later confirmed as Clara Jensen. She'd been dead for over 4 months. Cause of death: overdose of sedatives and oxygen deprivation. Manner of death: homicide. Next to the body was a small tape recorder. When investigators pressed play, a man's voice spoke calmly. "Adrian, Clara, close your eyes. Let go. This isn't dying. This is transformation." Then a long pause. Then static. The FBI joined the investigation. Adrian Wolfe was arrested at a psychology conference in New York, moments before giving a keynote lecture titled "The Power of Suggestion." When the agents cuffed him, he smiled, the same charming smile that had fooled patients, colleagues, and the media. As cameras flashed, he said one sentence that chilled everyone in the room: "You can't arrest understanding." During trial preparation, prosecutors uncovered encrypted folders containing transcripts of every session. Adrian had documented his crimes like a scientist. Each patient's breakdown was charted in stages. Stage 1, trust. Stage 2, surrender. Stage 3, reconstruction. Stage 4, obedience. Stage 5, silence. Under Clara's name, Stage 5 was marked complete. The word complete wasn't closure, it was a signature, proof that Adrian considered his victims finished works of art. Forensic psychologist Dr. Howard Rice testified that Wolfe exhibited malignant narcissistic personality traits, a rare combination of grandiosity, sadism, and intellectual superiority. Dr. Rice, he saw his patients not as people but as instruments. Each was a mirror reflecting his control. Their suffering validated his intelligence. In the end, Adrian Wolfe's greatest addiction wasn't power, it was validation. Every confession he extracted was proof of his own genius. Every broken patient, another masterpiece. Cut to courtroom sketches. Adrian sits calm, hands folded, as Detective Vaughn watches from the gallery. By February 2021, the trial of Dr. Adrian Wolfe had become a national obsession. The Doctor Control read the headlines. Psychologists, survivors, and armchair detectives debated one question: how does someone trained to heal mind turn it into a weapon? Prosecutors charged Wolfe with second-degree murder, coercion, fraud, and unethical experimentation. The courtroom overflowed daily. Some came for justice. Others came to see genius fall apart. The prosecution's case was airtight. The basement recordings, the hidden journal, Clara Jensen's final tape, and his own handwritten mirror hypothesis. But the defense had one weapon left, Adrian himself. When he spoke, silence filled the room. He didn't plead insanity. He didn't deny his actions. He explained them. Adrian Wolfe, court transcript. Every human being seeks control. Parents over children, lovers over lovers, gods over faith. I simply removed the illusion. I showed them what they already wanted, to surrender. Prosecutor, you call that therapy? Adrian, I call it honesty. Prosecutor, and Clara Jensen, was she honest? Adrian, she was perfect. She understood what it meant to be seen. Narrator, his words didn't sound like confession. They sounded like pride. Even in chains, Adrian Wolfe was still performing. But the jury wasn't his audience anymore. On the fourth day, the prosecution introduced new evidence, video diaries from other patients. In one, a woman described waking up during hypnosis, unable to move, hearing his voice repeat, "You belong to me." Another described him whispering her secrets back to her, as if they were his own thoughts. The room fell silent. Even Adrian stopped smiling. Forensic psychologist Dr. Howard Rice returned to the stand. He summarized Adrian's pathology in 3 words: control through intimacy. Dr. Rice. He used empathy as a lure. The more they trusted him, the less they trusted themselves. His patients were not hypnotized, they were colonized. Those words hung in the air. It was a phrase that defined the case. After 5 weeks, the jury deliberated just 6 hours. They found Dr. Adrian Wolfe guilty on all counts. Sentence: life imprisonment without parole. When the judge read the verdict, Adrian didn't flinch. He simply smiled and whispered, "Understanding is still mine." No one knew what he meant, not until weeks later. From prison, Adrian agreed to one final recorded interview with journalist Daniel Keene from the Chicago Herald. The footage was never officially released, but transcripts leaked. Keene, why did you do it, Adrian? Adrian, because control is love in its purest form. You give someone the power to break you, and they don't. I just accelerated the process. Keene, you mean you played God? Adrian smiles, no, I taught God psychology. 2 days after that interview, Adrian Wolfe was found unresponsive in a cell, a self-inflicted overdose of medication smuggled in by another inmate. Beside him lay a single sheet of paper. A mirror shard rested on top. Written in pen, it read, "You cannot arrest understanding." The same line he'd spoken during his arrest. In the years that followed, the Riverside Institute was shut down. Over 20 victims came forward, their therapy notes recovered and archived. Dr. Lenora Price lost her medical license. Detective Vaughn retired, citing emotional fatigue. But something else emerged from the ashes. Universities began teaching the Wolfe case as a study in professional ethics and coercive control. Forensic psychologists called it the turning point. Adrian Wolfe wanted immortality, and in a way, he got it. In the end, Dr. Adrian Wolfe didn't just manipulate his victims. He manipulated belief itself. He proved how easily the human need for safety becomes surrender, and how authority can turn compassion into control. But for every person he broke, another learned to see the signs. And maybe that's a justice he never wanted. To be remembered not as a savior, but as a warning. Some crimes are committed with weapons. Others are committed with words. And sometimes, the most dangerous mind in the room is the one pretending to heal yours. He used empathy as a weapon and control as love. What do you think? Was Dr. Wolfe born manipulative, or did power corrupt him over time? Drop your thoughts below. Subscribe for more dark psychological stories where truth meets the human mind. This is Criminal Mindset, where every smile hides a secret.